Hi, my name is Alex Sonechko. I'm German national and serving with the 4th Rapid Reaction Brigade of the National Guard, also known as the Rubizh Brigade, since summer 2022.
I often interview people from English-speaking countries primarily, but Germany is a completely different story because it's a peaceful country in the heart of Europe where people have good quality of life and plenty of opportunities. What motivated you to leave Germany and come to Ukraine?
Well, I have Ukrainian children, so for me it was so important to come over. First of all, to defend the country, a European country, in my opinion, and a country that wants to have the same values as our countries in Western Europe. So for me, it was defending my thinking of the way of life we have in Europe, to defend it in Ukraine against a Soviet or post-Soviet mind. You know what I mean. And I think it's important that my children can grow up in a country that is free and where people can say what they want, and don't go to prison and for it, and read the newspapers that they want to, and to have this kind of freedom that we have.
In your opinion, how similar or how different are Germany and Ukraine?
Oh, it's different, but we are all different in Europe. The French are different from the Swiss. The Swiss are different from the Germans. So it's we all have our set of minds. But I think that's what's so great in Europe, in the European Union, that we are different, but we are united as one big union. There's many people in Europe who are against the European Union, I must say. There's quite a few in every country, but I think nothing is better than the European Union. We can travel freely. I can work in Spain. I can work in Denmark if I want. So this is something big, because we have witnessed lots of wars in Europe, and this European Union give us a unity that I would like to preserve at all costs. And for me, I think that Ukraine should also be part of it.
What does supporting Ukraine mean for you on a personal and moral level?
Well, I'm doing, the next step for me would be to have a Ukrainian passport. But for now, the language barrier is still there. I'm not really able to speak it that well. But for me, I'm doing everything. And it's mentally really, it's tough. After over 3 years now, it takes a mental toll on myself and probably also on my family. It's sometimes not really easy, but it's rewarding when I can achieve something for my brothers and sisters at Rubizh.
Before we switch to Rubizh, I would like to ask you this. Why do you believe that the world should pay more attention to what is happening in Ukraine?
Well, I think the world is paying attention, but the world is not doing enough to support Ukraine. This is the problem. Everybody knows. If I'm thinking, in Japan or in India, where we have now the big talks about India and India getting oil from Russia, I think very important. Everybody talks about Ukraine, but it's doing something for Ukraine. And doing something for Ukraine, it will be more arms. And this is what we're lacking. This is what we need. That this is what is needed on the front line to support our troops. It is more arms, weaponry, communication system, and things like this. So it's not only thinking about Ukraine. Oh well, there's a war and it's terrible, but it's really supporting it. And foreigners and foreign countries can support it. Of course, you can support it with for humanitarian reason, thinking, supplying with medicine or for wheelchairs, for hospital ambulances. But to be honest, absolutely frank, what is important is that you support the armed forces with your donations. It's supporting by, groups that are, fundraising for drones and this is, I would think, is the most important right now. It's drone warfare.
What do you feel when people say that it's wrong to bring more weapons to Ukraine because it's warmongering, financing the conflict, and things like that?
Well, I think I don't know what's going on with those people, because if we say Ukraine is occupied by the Russians, what will happen? What the people would think will happen? That everybody's going to shake hand and fall in love. The Ukrainians that fought in the war will be deported to Siberia, to camps. People that are Ukrainian patriots will be deported. It will be a gulag new version. Let's put it at really frankly. So there's no option. There's no option for Ukraine than to fight, and for the European Unions and the Americans to support us to the maximum. There's no other choice. Occupation of a pro-Russian government here, or even the Russian themselves in Kiev or in Western Ukraine, will be dramatic, that we cannot even imagine what is going to happen to the Ukrainian population, because the Ukrainian population is patriotic. So imagine what is going to happen to all these people that want to be Ukraine and feel Ukraine. What are the Russians going to do with them? That it's, I mean, people are not really thinking much further than that. Oh, we should not send arms to Ukraine. It's going to be a catastrophic. It's a nightmare for Ukraine. No, occupation by the Russian of Ukrainian land and of Ukrainian population. This is a nightmare scenario.
I wonder, considering all the atrociousness demonstrated by the Russian Federation in all its forms throughout years as Soviet Union, as Russian Empire, all that atrociousness, why do people around the world still believe that Russia is, this peaceful, friendly country, that Ukrainians should just give up to them and everything will be fine?
Well, it's really difficult to understand these people, because, we're talking about people, most of the people, let's say in Western Europe or even in America, that supports Russia, they know how our lifestyle is in Western Europe or in America. We have a particular lifestyle. We are allowed to do many things. We are, and in Russia you're not, basically. And for me, it's not understandable. Western Europe is not perfect, for sure. We have lots of our own problems. Every country has its own problem. But I lived in many different countries around the world, and I can say that the Western democracies, or social democracies, there's nothing better. So everybody wants to live like in Russia and having a country that is, have strict rules. They can go to Russia. But who wants to really live somewhere in Novosibirsk? I don't see immigration coming to Novosibirsk. Everybody wants to come to Europe, because Europe, we have the best democracies, the best way of living. Nobody wants to live somewhere behind the Ural. I don't see Africans there migrating by the hundred thousands. So so I don't understand that the Westerners that are complaining about Europe and think Russia is great. Russia have a strong man. He rules the country, and well, yeah, he rules the country, but under what conditions? So for me, it's not. I don't understand these people, to be honest.
I wonder, how has this war changed your perspective on things like life, society, or humanity?
I always supported my lifestyle, the Western lifestyle, through my youth until now. And what I'm afraid about the society, and I'm not talking about the Ukrainian society, but about the Western society, that we are so divided by how to treat people, how to treat foreigners, how we shouldn't say this or we should say that. And there's no middle ground anymore. Everybody's on the barricades, far left, far right, the middle. And it's a little bit disturbing where we're going at. And I'm a bit afraid about how all Western democracies are going, where they're going, basically. I have sometimes PTSD, sometimes thinking about the men that I know that have been killed in action. So this is sometimes really, taking me really, how do you say, emotionally, it hurts me. Yeah, sometimes you have a breakdown, or you say it's, but you have. There's not a minute in the 3 years where I didn't stop thinking about serving for Rubizh, or working for Rubizh and working for the Ukrainian people. Not 1 minute. Even in the most difficult times I had, there's not 1 minute where I didn't fight. Even fight in my mind to do the right thing. Fight, with what I can do the best to support the brigade.
Can you tell more about the people you work with in the 4th Operative Brigade? How would you describe the character of this brigade to people watching us?
Yes, I work with mostly officers of the brigade, and you know that Rubizh is one of the brigades that is NATO trained since the conception of Rubizh since 2015. So Rubizh has been trained on the NATO standards, and I see the officers that have been serving there for a long time. The officers that I know that have very high standard, and I'm basically in contact with them, and it's absolutely great people to work with. If an NCO has an idea, the officer will tell him, well, show me, do it, and show me the results. And, the thing is that Ukrainian is in a real war, not in a war in Afghanistan or in Iraq. It's an attrition war with artillery, with drones. Nobody in NATO can imagine how this will affect NATO troops mentally, physically, mentally, on all levels. So the chain of command in Ukraine is more flexible, and we see where a problem is. If a if a sergeant or a junior officer sees a problem, he has the potential to talk to his commanding officer and say, there might be a problem here at this level, and maybe the commanding officer will tell him, okay, tell me how you want to change it. Can you change it? What do you need? Do it and show me the results. So I think, to be honest, I've been talking with some junior NATO officers, and they're absolutely not ready for what's coming. If a war with Russia should be coming in the Baltic states, for example, they're not ready. Absolutely not. Nobody is ready to receive like hundreds of drones a day on 2 square kilometers, or being under artillery fire for 2, 3, 4, 5 days nonstop. Then mentally not ready.
I wonder, does it make you feel proud as a German to support Ukraine? Or what does it make you feel like? Do you feel more Ukrainian or more
I feel
German?
more Ukrainian. I feel more Ukrainian. I feel more Ukrainian. I'm very proud to be wearing the patch of Rubizh. I'm very proud to help my comrades in arms, women and men serving in Rubizh. So I'm feeling more Ukrainian, actually.
Are there many foreign volunteers fighting in Rubizh, and generally, did you meet a lot of them in Ukraine?
We have some South Americans in Rubizh. We had some now volunteers from other Western countries, I would say, coming in. It's slow. The main problem I see with foreign volunteers is the language and the communication at the company or battalion level, especially if they don't speak Ukrainian. So this can be quite problematic, I imagine. I see many foreigners still coming to Ukraine, quite a few. And I see a clear trend, and in 2022 there were many foreigners coming and who have been combat medics or coming to Ukraine and teaching Ukrainian tactical medicine. And now we can see a trend where foreign volunteers coming and going to drone school taught by Ukrainians. So the Ukrainians are teaching the foreigners now at drone schools before they join a battalion or a brigade. And this is really telling us where this war is going, into which direction. It's basically now the Ukrainians are able to teach Westerners about drone warfare, and we can clearly see that there's a need of drone pilots. Yeah, if foreigners now are coming to brigades and battalions and are being used as drone pilots, so we see really the shift in what is coming ahead, and where the NATO countries are 100 years way back behind.
What do you feel when you see the foreign volunteers from abroad and Ukrainian soldiers working together under such difficult circumstances?
First of all, it really filled my heart with joy because some foreigners or lots of foreigners love Ukraine like me and want to stay in Ukraine forever after the war. So I see this, and I think it's great. It's great. It's an exchange also of ideas, of way of thinking, of culture, and I think it's very important.
It's very funny to listen to, for example, Russian propagandists, who say that on one hand Ukraine is full of Nazi, on the other hand Ukraine only wins because it's supported by so many foreign mercenaries, like they call them.
Yes, I think it's for them a propaganda tool, and I don't think that the ones deciding to talk this bullshit know really that's bullshit. But the problem is that the Russian people believe this. This is even telling you where and what's going on in their mind. It's completely crazy. It's completely nuts.
Russians actually blame people on the West for saying that Russia is going to invade them, because apparently this is something that may actually provoke Russia to invade in Russian mind. What's your point on this? Is it true that Russia can actually invade a NATO country before the end of this decade?
I didn't think it at the start of the war, but now I think it's possible. From what I heard, or from what I did read from analysts, is that the Russians are putting a certain amount in what they're producing in their strategic reserves, meaning that they are saving the best material, the newly produced tank, they're putting them back in depots, and that are able to attack and by 2027. This is what I did read, and I think it's totally possible, and especially now under the Trump administration, because we don't know if America will defend the Baltic states if something happens, what will happen to Estonia. And for me, I see, from what I read in between the lines of the analysts, I see what they've been telling us. It's that to get ready for war with Russia. This can happen to any country now. This is nothing. We've seen what big bully is doing to its neighbor, and the response from the West is not what I have hoped. To be honestly, I would have hoped that we will have received much more weapons, or that Europe would have been in the war. Like a wartime production, of weapons, but no, we are still hesitant of delivering this and that, and maybe, and so it shows a country that you have to be ready for a worst case scenario. You cannot sit back and hope that somebody else will protect you, but everybody has to be ready for an aggression. This is what should ring alarm bells in the West and in every other country. Actually.
Looking forward, what gives you hope that Ukrainian people and the international community, the free world, will prevail?
Yes, the free world will prevail. I think so. I hope so, because I don't. For me, I don't see any other solution. Of course, we have to be very careful of the fifth column that we have in the free world. Also, because we are not speaking as one voice. We have many people in Germany, in France, or in England, or anywhere, that are really supporting Russia within the free world. So the Russians are trying to destabilize the Western countries, from the inside. And we also hope that Russia is going to collapse from the inside also, because this will be the thing that we are looking for, actually, that Russia will collapse from the inside. economically or a coup or whatever. But this is so that's geopolitics at its best, basically.
If someone from another country is considering supporting Ukraine or specifically the Rubizh brigade, what would you tell them?
Join the armed forces, join proactively, look for a good brigade that they're very good brigades or brigades in Ukraine. And if you want to join a good one, join Rubizh, of course.